And welcome to the Thursday night AngryMarks.com pro wrestling and mixed martial arts podcast. My name is Stevie J. I have two co-hosts on the line tonight. Let me start by introducing Tai Chi William Huckabee.
What is up? What is up? Oh my God. Can we go ahead and say that MVP for this week, my man Tai Chi, amazing performance and on an amazing show. You know what I'm saying? On an amazing card, Tai Chi's performance stood out to me.
Yeah, there are a lot of anniversary cards this weekend, but that one might take the cake. So we'll get into that in just a moment, but I have to introduce my other co-host, the great Sudoku, Jason Harland.
Callahan.
He is a subject of much controversy this week, too. Cannonball Callahan and his baseball bat of doom.
Can we call him Ninja Baseball Callahan?
I think we can. I don't know if he'd like it, but we can certainly do that.
Ooh, yeah. What a week. And Tai Chi looked good, but he wasn't the MVP for me on the card. While he was good, there was one star who shined brighter.
All right. Well,
perhaps two.
Let's quit stalling and go ahead and get right into it. 46th anniversary show for New Japan Pro Wrestling.
And yeah, I kayfabed the first two matches because I really didn't care about undercard matches. Did you catch the first two matches, Will?
Yeah, I did. You know what I'm saying? The Young Lions. What was the first match? The first match was all Young Lions. The Young Lions.
Liger, Kushida, Taguchi, Tiger Mask versus Ren Narita, Shota Umino, Tetsuhiro Yagi, Tomoyuki Oka, and Yuji Nagata.
But let's just say Team Young Lion with Nagata versus, team opening match. Yeah, Team Japan. Or Team opening match.
Japan, with Tenzen's not part of Taguchi Japan, but the rest of them are.
I would say, that match, you should have watched it just for the fact that, the veterans beat the piss out of all the Young Lions. But Oka, as usual, had a really good match. As usual, he really stood out among the Young Lions and stuff. Between him being Old Man Lion and Steroid Lion, I think that they're the cream of the crop for this year's Young Lions and stuff. And I'm really waiting for them to do more with him. I think once he goes and excursion and comes back, he's going to do really, really well. But the parts that stood out to me for that match was just the fact that Liger was really out of character. To me, Liger was really out of character. It wasn't happy-go-lucky, let's have fun, Liger. It was, I'm a vet of 30-plus years. These are Young Lions. I have to show them their place. And he just beat the piss out of those Young Lions. It was so out of characteristic for the Liger that we've been used to seeing.
Next match was Hiroki Goto and Tomohiro Ishii and Toru Yano taking on David Finlay, Juice Robinson, and Hanare.
That match really wasn't. It really didn't stand out. Of course, I despise the fact that David Finlay was in there. Not a huge fan of David Finlay. And then who was it? What was the other? I guess non-Young Lion that was on their team. Yeah, he did okay. Of course, I assumed that either him or David Finlay was going to get the pin, and they got the pin on him. Nowhere near as it didn't really stand out as far as match quality goes. It really didn't stand out to me on any part the way the first match would have. I think as a conventional wrestling booking goes, that match was booked in the perfect spot. The first match was kind of like an appetizer of, hey, this is going to be a very stiff, striking show. And then the second match is okay, we're going to put this in here, and, this will be the second match. We'll just go ahead and get it over with, and then you'll forget it because all the good shit's coming after this.
And that's exactly where I picked up with the three-way clusterfuck for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships. We had the champions Roppongi 3K taking on the Suzuki-Gun team of El Desperado and Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and also facing the Los Ingobernables de Japón team of Bushi and Hiromu Takahashi. And I really liked this match, and oh my god, did Sho get the living piss beat out of him in this match and kept coming back and coming back and coming back. The action was great, but the finish leaves me scratching my head having El Desperado and Kanemaru win the titles.
Yeah, out of all three teams, they're the least important.
Yeah, it's really devaluing the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team title to have it just hot-shotted like this. And Yo and Sho really could use a nice, solid title run to build them up as a credible team. And here you are giving it to the lamest, the worst possible team.
Yeah.
Give it to the King of Boring style, Kanemaru. And El Desperado is okay, but Kanemaru is the drizzling shits.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I can agree with you, Jason. Like I don't understand what they're doing with these junior tag titles. If you're gonna keep it off of Show and Yo, off of Roppongi 3K, put it on the tag team that it really matters that they're a champion. Don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of Suzuki Gun, but these two, and not so much Desperado, but Kanemaru is like, he's like the Virgil of Suzuki Gun to me. It's like and everybody in Suzuki-gun serves a purpose but him. Tai Chi is the sleazy one. Michinoku, he's like the mean, evil, pissy motherfucker. Then you have like the Japanese lucha with Desperado. You got Minoru, who's, murderous uncle. Like, everybody serves a purpose but him. And I was
if they
really
were a British pop group, he would be Boring Spice.
Yes. And don't get me wrong, like, I like the idea behind the finish. I like the idea. Now, I've always waited for somebody to take advantage of Bushi's miss. But I think that they really rushed the finish and the building, I think they were as well.
You're kind of making the ref look like an idiot in this case because, okay, he didn't see the mist, but when the ref turns around and sees it all over his face, how can he not, at that point, assume somebody sprayed mist in his face? It didn't get there by accident. It didn't fall from the ceiling.
He didn't smear octopus ink on his own face.
Right.
Yeah, I have no problem with the mist and finish. It's just, especially with the Young Bucks exiting the junior tag team division for the heavyweight tag team division, you're going to need a solid team, and they had a chance to do that, again, with Roppongi 3K, just like they did at Wrestle Kingdom and having them lose it, but, yeah, I don't know.
Well, I just want to interject this fact before we move on. I'm looking back to the 2017 Tokyo Dome show, and this is the length of the junior heavyweight tag team title reigns. 61 days, 52 days, 45 days, 63 days, 57 days, 87 days, 24 days, 37 days, and now going on 1 day. Nobody can hold this thing for longer than 2 months.
I think that, in my opinion, I like the idea of anybody can be anybody. All these teams, are pretty much even, but they don't have the teams built. They don't have any team really built up in the junior division to where that story could come across. There's no, I understand, like, do you understand what I'm trying to say? Is like, if you're trying to get the point across that in the junior tag division, all these teams and all of these factions are equal. Anybody can be anybody on any given day. I think you have to build up to that level. Right now, it's just like shitty team beats, young team that just came back from excursion, who loses to another shitty team, who loses to a pretty okay, credible team, who loses to the team that would always lose to the Young Bucks, et cetera, et cetera. Like, they just go around in this crazy circle. There's no great, they don't have a great junior tag division to really pull off what they're trying to do.
I know
they don't, and they're cutting themselves up at the legs here too, because the one tag team specialist that they have that wrestle primarily as a tag team, Sho and Yo, they just took the titles off them. The other guys are just singles wrestlers that are thrown together as a tag team here and there.
The only ones that even had a chance to stand out were Sho and Yo, because they, out of all those teams I named, they were the only one who had a reign that was longer than 2 months.
Exactly.
They should never have lost the titles since they won them. They should still be carrying those belts.
They really should be. They really should be, and they should be the cocky young tag team champions. Where it's like, we just came back to New Japan. We're taking over the junior tag team division. You guys have been here for years, and look where you're at. And we just came back, and we're already better than you. That would have been a more engaging story of watching all of these older vets and stuff trying to beat these two young guns and stuff, and trying to pull the Ric Flair where they use every dirty trick they've ever come up with that's ever been used. They still can't beat these two young guys because they're just that much more athletic. I would have enjoyed that story a lot more than what they're doing right now.
Well,
so Gato, if you're listening, switch it up.
Well, speaking of switching it up, let's move on to Sanada and Yoshihashi.
I mean,
Yeah.
these are kind of, you're talking about how Kanemaru is kind of the Virgil of Suzuki-gun. It's like Sonata is kind of the Virgil of Los Ingobernables de Japón, and Yoshihashi is kind of the Virgil of Chaos. And it's
No, I would
Forgotten
not.
Beetle versus Forgotten Beetle, and it was okay, but it was kind of out of place among the
No,
top tier
no.
matches here.
No, because Sonata is not the Virgil. Sonata is. I realize that Sonata is one of the, and I have friends like this on the independent circuit. They only work as hard as the person they're in the ring with. If you look at the Sonata who worked with Okada versus the Sonata we just seen in this past show, it's two different people. You don't know, and that's the best about Sonata is that you don't know which one you're going to get in the ring. He could be really good, super, because he's lo and behold. Besides Kota Ibushi, Sonata is probably one of the most athletic guys on the New Japan roster, hands down. Way more athletic than Kenny Omega. The only reason why Kenny Omega is so athletic is because he trains so very hard. But as far as natural, pure athleticism, Sonata is number 2 in the entire company. But he only works as hard as the person he's in the ring with. If he's working with somebody that he knows can go out there and go, he will bust his ass. We've seen that with his matches versus Kenny Omega. We've seen that with him versus Okada. We've seen the potential that is Sonata. But for some reason, this match right here, it just seems like he took a day off. I don't know why.
And Yoshihashi wasn't at the top of his game. I mean, he was hitting lariats here and there, but it just wasn't that good of a match.
Don't you dare disparage the Stan Hansen lariat by calling what he was doing on that show this past week a lariat.
Running forearms. Running forearms.
We'll do running forearm strikes or whatever, but that was not a lariat. And I hate when guys throw lariats like that. Like, it's the whole, like, hit your chest and pop off. It's like, I hate those. Yoshihashi, like I said, I feel like he's another one just like Kushida who just needs to go on excursion, who needs to go on the second excursion, I guess, and just recharge his batteries, because right now he's just treading water. He's just spinning his heels, and he's not going up, he's not going down. He's just right there with no creativity, no passion, no drive, no nothing. Like, it's like if he's not getting the push, he doesn't care. I want to see him go to England, or go to British wrestling, or go to Mexico, or come to Ring of Honor and recharge his batteries, and then come back to New Japan.
There you go. Send him down to developmental and see what Delirious can do with him.
Exactly.
But yeah, moving on, we had Naito versus Taichi, and perhaps the booking Gato had earlier of Kanemaru and Desperado winning titles, perhaps that was part of his evil genius, because after Kanemaru is now a title holder, I was actually looking forward to seeing Taichi.
I'm just saying, first of all, I know, because I wasn't on the show last week, so I know that you guys were talking junk about my homeboy Taichi, and you were talking about how bad this match is going to be. Y'all can go ahead and admit it. Now, I know that's what y'all said.
Yeah, there might have been a fuck Taichi here or there.
Now, with that being said, Taichi came out with all cylinders going, man. This match, the beginning of the match was great. I loved how he immediately jumped on Naito. I loved how he did the Tranquillo pose, how he was just basically taunting Naito and stuff at the beginning of this match. I love the fact that the reversals for this match, like, we've become very used to seeing Taichi being very lazy in the ring, doing his little shtick or whatever you want to say, grab the microphone or whatever, hit somebody with a mallet, and then, do the tearaway pants and then get pinned or whatever the case may be. Like, he was wrestling on this show.
I was worried at the beginning of the match when they started brawling outside of the ring, but then once they got to the very, very back of the arena, Taichi powerbombed the fuck out of Naito right there on the floor.
Yes, I was going to say, like, that powerbomb is what really kicked into overdrive. I was like, holy shit, Taichi came to actually win. Like, he's actually showing his ass. But like I said, the reversals, the spots, I love the finish. I love the fact that Naito, the way the match ended with the low blow and that microphone shot, Jesus Christ.
And then breaking it.
Yes. That microphone shot was so vicious. But overall, this was probably one of the most enjoyable matches on the card. It definitely earned its spot. I think that we're going to see with with Tai Chi moving up to the heavyweight division and stuff, man, we're able to see a lot more different combinations, a lot more. If this is any indication of what he's going to do as a heavyweight, I can't wait to see what he's going to do for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I will give the devil his due. Tai Chi came to wrestle, and wrestle he did. And there were near falls that he got on Naito, and Naito kicked out, and Naito had some near falls on Tai Chi, and it went back and forth. And this was one of those rare instances where Tai Chi came to wrestle.
I have to admit, I have reevaluated my overall estimation of Tai Chi as a performer. But it doesn't hurt that he was in the ring with one of the 5 to 10 best wrestlers on the planet right now.
Okay, but still, he held his own. And
I'm not saying he didn't. I agree with you. He did.
You guys have been wrestling fans. You've been wrestling fans long enough to know when somebody's being carried to a good match and when somebody is putting on the match of a lifetime for that person up to that point. Yeah. And in my opinion, this was one of those, like, all right, you want to be a heavyweight, you got to prove to us you want to be a heavyweight. And he went out there, and yeah, he did his shenanigans, but he came out to fight, he came out to wrestle, he came out to prove a point, and damn it, he did.
No, and I'm not in any way saying he was carried. I'm saying he worked up to the level of Naito, and that's probably part of the reason is because he was in there with such a great guy, he stepped it up.
You want to say something, Jason?
Yeah, I was going to say one of my favorite parts of the match, and you have to watch the Japanese commentary for this, was when Tai Chi hit Naito with a backdrop and Nogami just loses his shit and says in English, "Dangerous backdrop!"
I'll go back and watch the Japanese version. I usually, when I'm watching it the first time, I usually watch the English version, and then I'll go back and watch the Japanese version or the Japanese commentary just because, no offense, but it's less distracting for me. And I could actually, watch the matches as far as moves go. Yeah, that backdrop was crazy. Like, I thought he almost broke his neck. It was such a high-angled backdrop. It was like, it reminded me of, like, the old Kenta Kobashi and stuff, his Exploder and stuff.
The old All Japan 90s backdrops.
Yes!
Just so sick. Ouch. He landed right on your head.
All right, what was next? I'm done talking about that.
After that, Takamichi Noko came out and started getting in Naito's case and was talking about Zack Sabre Jr. and the New Japan Cup and just basically tells Naito, just tap out. Do what you're supposed to do. Just tap out to Zack Sabre Jr. when you face him in the New Japan Cup.
And then we got a Rey Mysterio video package.
Yay!
Is he actually going to show up? I heard he was injured.
The bicep tear is a partial, not a full, so theoretically he could still work, but he probably needs to be really careful.
Yeah, hopefully he can put on a good match. It'd be really nice if he joined Los Ingobernables. That would be awesome.
I'm not as excited for this match as I feel like I should be. I feel like this is one of those matches, like, on paper, it's a once-in-a-lifetime dream match. Kind of like the Omega Jericho match. It's like, oh snap, it's one of those once-in-a-lifetime dream matches. But I'm not as excited for this match as I was when I first heard the announcement. It's like the appeal of this match has kind of worn off on me, where I'm just like, and I think I said it before, it was like, 20 years ago when both of these guys were in their prime, I think it would have been a lot better athletic-wise. But I think that these guys, I don't know, I'm not really looking forward. I'm not going to say I'm not looking forward to the match, but I'm not as excited as I feel I should be.
All right, so from there we move on to Minoru Suzuki versus Togi Makabe.
Oh, God, Makabe is so god-awful, horrible. And they were actually teasing like he was going to win, and I was thinking, God damn it, they're just proving tonight that the IWGP Intercontinental Championship is just as worthless as the Junior Tag Team Championships, but Suzuki went over. But when Makabe hit the spider suplex, I was like, oh shit, they're going to give it to Makabe, aren't they? But thankfully they didn't, and eventually through trial and trial and trial and trial again, Suzuki was finally able to get Makabe up for the Gotch-style pile driver.
Well, not before he slapped the fucking shit out of him first.
Oh yeah, they had a nice back and forth, strong style, and yeah, Suzuki rocked him, and Makabe just really wasn't doing anything with his forearms.
Mm-hmm.
As I feel like this match was, once again, it's like if you look at what Minoru Suzuki does with other guys compared to what he was doing with Makabe. Like, when he works with other guys, he is selling his ass off to make these guys like $1 million. And this match was just like, I'm not selling this shit. I'm not selling this shit. I'm not selling this shit. This shit sucks. I'm not selling this shit. I can almost hear Suzuki bitching in his mind about how weak Makabe's offense looked. I don't want to say Makabe is horrible because obviously he's better than I am because he's in New Japan and I'm not.
He's a brawler. He's not a good wrestler. He's a good brawler, and that's about it.
He's not even a good brawler. He's a good
He's a Brooklyn brawler.
Okay, he's a good space filler. This match did nothing for either one of these guys. It did nothing for Suzuki to beat him. It did nothing for him being in the match whatsoever. It was just I feel like this match should not have followed the match before. This should have been before the Naito Taichi match. And that's no knock on Minoru Suzuki whatsoever. It was just the quality of this match did not live up to the match before it.
Can't get blood from a stone, and Suzuki tried, but yeah, in the end he just beat the shit out of Makabe, and I was satisfied with that.
Is it just me, or did he look so relieved after that match was over with?
But thank God I don't have to work with this guy anymore. I'm done.
It's like he hit the Gotch power driver. He's like, thank God, Jesus Christ. Like,
the ghost of Karl Gotch rose up from the grave and said, thank you.
And this match.
Yes, it was like, you could just tell, like, as a wrestler, you could just look at other guys in the ring and stuff. You could tell, like, when they're so relieved when the match is over. And that was one of those, I'm looking at Suzuki's face, and it was just right there, like, thank goodness this bullshit is over with. Like, oh, God, like, all right, let's get to New Japan Cup.
And Mitsu doesn't really have an easy face to read either because he's usually scowling or mad, and there's not a lot of difference between the two.
It looked like he was only enjoying, like he only started enjoying himself when they got to that strike exchange. Yeah. And usually, and I went back to watch a couple of like Suzuki's matches before this show, and usually when he's slapping somebody, Minoru Suzuki catches him like very high on the neck, not really necessarily in the face, but you know, in the trap neck area. And while Makabe was slapping him in the traps and the neck and stuff, like Suzuki was just popping him dead in the face just the whole time.
That's why I said slapping the shit out of him. That's exactly what he was doing.
And like that was the only part where it seemed like he was really enjoying himself. Like, yeah, I've been waiting 10 minutes to do this because you suck ass.
Yes.
I think he legit knocked Makabe down when Makabe went down to his knees or to his belly there. It was just like, oh.
Without a doubt, like that one slap, it was like, holy shit. Like, oh, that was so brutal.
You can legitimately get a concussion from being slapped too hard. There are women that's happened to in pro wrestling before.
Oh, I'm not people as a shoot job. My Clark Kent job, as Uncle Bob Evans likes to call it. My Clark Kent job. I've done security in bars and strip clubs and biker bars and hip hop clubs and stuff for the better part of 20 years. And there's been a couple of times where, because I wear a size 15.5 ring, gentlemen, where I've slapped somebody and legitimately knocked them out from an open hand slap to the face. So it's possible to give somebody a concussion. And I think that's what Suzuki did. I think he just got tired of the BS in the match. I think he got tired of Makabe and his traditional way of not selling. Because we all know that he never sells for anybody. I think he just got tired of the bullshit, and he realized that, you know, Makabe really didn't need to be in the ring with him, and he was just like, the hell with it. If he's not going to sell, I'll make him sell. He just slap the shit out of him.
And the best part of this match was there was no interference from Suzuki-gun. It was just Minoru out there by himself beating the piss out of Makabe.
Did they really need to come out there? Really?
No, they didn't, which was good that they didn't.
Yeah. All right.
Now, you were saying that Taichi had the match of the night, but for me, Will Ospreay had the match of the night.
Yes.
Match of the year candidate in my book. Okada's matches are the most fun when he is out of his element, and he was definitely out of his element, and Ospreay came at him full steam, threw everything at him, including the kitchen sink. Just a crazy Spanish fly spot, just just crazy flips and dives and the inverted 450 splash that he hit on him. He was just pulling everything out, and this match should have gone to Will Ospreay, but the finish was kind of your typical Okada stuff. But other than that, this was not your typical Okada match.
I feel like the reason why this was not match of the night is because this was the match that I expected. I expected for Ospreay to be the aggressor in the match because on the English commentary they were talking about during the pre-show conferences and stuff and interviews how Okada had almost basically dared Will Ospreay to make the challenge and stuff, and how this was, these are two guys in the same faction. Both of them are holding titles. One's the junior champion, one's the actual heavyweight champion. Who's better at what? So I was expecting for this to be a good match. What I did not expect was two things. I did not expect for Will Ospreay to slap the shit out of Okada so early in the match. Did not expect that. And I did not expect that stiff-ass Rainmaker that he gave. Ospreay. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I did not expect that stiff-ass Rainmaker that Ospreay gave Okada. Did not expect those two things.
That I didn't expect either, and I love stolen finishers.
Yeah, it was a pleasant surprise. I almost dare to say that his Rainmaker may have looked a little bit better than Okada's.
We have seen Okada's a million times too, which may play into it. And one thing I liked about this match too, before it even got started, they shook hands and Ospreay bowed several times to Okada. Just a great show of respect before it even started.
Yeah, and he, instead of doing the handshake, he did the hug and everything. Like I said, it's like, I expected for this match to be good. And like you, Jason, I also appreciate when Okada is in matches that are completely out of his element. This match, his match with Minoru Suzuki, his match with Shibata, I enjoy where he has to come out of his element and really fight. There was a point in the match where I really believed that they were going to give the match to Ospreay, to show that.
I thought the same thing too.
I thought they was going to give it to Ospreay just to show that Okada is vulnerable, especially when he had the Pip Cheerio and a couple of other
sit-out powerbomb.
Yes, which can I say that I was I was pissed off at that spot. For the simple fact that you have a junior heavyweight powerbombing the heavyweight champion, and it wasn't like Okada's on the second rope giving him the 10 punches or something. It was flip up, sit out powerbomb. Like I did not. As a wrestler, I did not like that one whatsoever, because now you're going to see all these little small junior heavyweights and stuff around the world, especially on the American Indies, thinking that they can give my big 300-pound ass a powerbomb, and it's not happening.
Well, Okada doesn't weigh 300 pounds either.
I don't care. Ospreay doesn't weigh 200 pounds.
It was a sick powerbomb nonetheless. I popped for that big time.
It didn't look better than It didn't look better than Tai Chi's on Naito, though.
Which one? The one on the outside or the Kawada style?
Yeah, it didn't look better than it didn't look better than the one Tai Chi gave Naito on the outside. It didn't look better than that.
It was up there. I might give that one to Ospreay. Ospreay nailed Okada. I thought the match was over when he hit him with that. I'm like, oh shit! I'm like, Ospreay's gonna win, but no, he didn't. He deserved to win though. Another part of this match that really stuck out to me was how much Okada really relies on his drop kick, and how he always has to get his drop kick in. When he went for the corner drop kick and stuff, we seen Ospreay fight it off the first time, and then Okada had to come back to it. Like that's something that I don't think I really noticed is how much he depends on that drop kick as kind of to create space or to start his offense and stuff. And Ospreay took that away from him several times during the match when Okada went for drop kicks.
Yes. Also, it looked to me, how you were saying Okada looked kind of out of his element. His timing was kind of off. He didn't look as crisp. He didn't look as clean. I don't know if Okada went out drinking the night before or if he didn't get a good night's sleep. I don't know what it was. But his timing was off with a lot of his moves. He wasn't as smooth and as fluid with a lot of things also. His selling was kind of weird as well. So I don't know if he was sick, if he had the flu, whatever the case may be, but he didn't look as polished as he usually does.
A little bit
Now,
off. I do like that it wasn't your typical paint by numbers Okada match either. I really like seeing Okada out of his element and seeing that he is fallible and seeing him going for these typical dropkick spots and Ospreay having it scouted and having a counter for it.
Oh, yes. Like I said, the only thing that really amazed me, one of the things that, like I said, another thing that stood out to me is the fact that it took the junior heavyweight champion to show the flaws in Okada's armor and stuff, to show that this is where he's vulnerable and these are the chinks in the great Okada's armor and stuff. So, once again, if this is leading up to something huge and big, when he finally drops the title and stuff, then damn it, Gato, you're a genius. If this was just something that was by mistake and this was just a match these guys put together and stuff, then shame on you, Gato. Because I'm loving the story in my mind that I've started creating for the title reign that Okada has. So if it ends up ending the way that I would like for it to, which I'm not going to tell you guys yet, then kudos, and Gato was probably a genius. But if it doesn't, it was a huge missed opportunity.
Which takes nothing away from the match itself. It was a fantastic match. Match of the year candidate, in my opinion.
See, I don't know if it could be a match of the year candidate, though, Jason.
Why not? It was amazing.
It was amazing, but it was... It's kind of like saying Okada Ricochet is a match of the year candidate, because to me it's not a match of the year candidate because it's something to be expected.
I knew what the outcome was going to be, but that said, I enjoyed the match, and there were times where I actually thought that Ospreay might win, despite logic telling me that he wouldn't.
Maybe we just have different qualifications for match of the year. I think for matches of the year, it's matches that are ungodly great. When I wasn't expecting for them to be as good as they are, for them to be as great as they are. Kenny Omega versus Ishii and stuff at the New Japan, the first time they went to, when they were in Long Beach and stuff. That match was a match of the year candidate. The first Okada Omega match was a match of the year candidate because we knew it was going to be good, but we didn't realize it was going to be that great.
2018, I've got Jericho versus Omega, and I've got this one so far. Those are my two for 2018.
See, well, yeah, I would say Jericho and Omega. But like I said, I have to give it to Taichi and Naito just for the simple fact that I wasn't expecting for it to stand out as much as it did. And like I said, it was totally different. It was totally amazing. And like I said, even though I'm a huge Taichi fan, I was not expecting for this match to stand out the way it did. And that's why I said that match was probably the best match in the card.
Let's just split a difference here, and I'll call it down the middle. I wouldn't necessarily rise to the level of match of the year, but I would say that we got two matches on this card that way over-delivered, and I count both the main event and the Tai Chi match in that equation.
I would agree with that. Jason, I'll tell you what, I'll top that, Jason. I will say these two matches topped anything that we've seen from WWE this year. Period.
Topped anything we've seen from WWE in the last 4 or 5 years?
Okay, well, correction. Anything that's topped WWE outside of women's matches. Let's go. We'll correct, because the women of WWE have shown their ass in the last year. So this has been better than anything that any man in WWE has given us, period.
Fair enough.
Better than Jinder Mahal in a Punjabi prison match?
Unfortunately, man, I was really looking forward to that, you know. It's a Punjabi match and nobody gets butt raped? What the hell? There was no like, what? Does nobody get butt raped in Punjabi prisons? That's so unfair. We should have an American prison match.
Anyway.
It'd be Ahmed Johnson versus Goldust again.
Is Tammy Fitch still in prison?
Huh?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, she
prison?
is. She's locked up in New Jersey right now.
Who?
Sonny. Tammy Sitch.
Oh, that's right, yeah. This has been a week for wrestling news. This has been a week.
Oh, yes, it has. That would be a good way to fill time before we talk about Fastlane, would be talk about some of these developments. And Tammy is high on the list with the fact that she not only has 2 drunk driving charges that she has to answer for, they can't even extradite her back to Pennsylvania to face her violation of probation and her parole being revoked because she has to answer for charges in New Jersey first. They won't give her back to Pennsylvania until they're done with her.
That's how the great how the mighty has fallen. Like, it's such a shame to see, people that we grew up watching this stuff end up in this situation. Like, all I'm gonna say about as far as Sunny is, and while it can be a funny situation, is that I really hope that eventually she gets the help that she really, really needs. Like, it's very sad to see somebody who at one point was the hottest entity in professional wrestling just drop so low.
She's got nobody to blame at this point but herself because she's had every opportunity. Multiple people have reached out to her. WWE paid for rehab for her. She still continues to keep fucking up despite everybody trying so hard to reach out a hand to her and pull her up. She just keeps dragging herself back down.
And she did a porno. What the hell? That's like the peak of any wrestler's career. But she did a porno for Vivid.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Cinematic masterpiece that was.
Yes, it was.
The bottom line on this one is it's not always sunny in Philadelphia, and we shall just move
on.
Oh.
Yes.
Why are you, Stevie, making jokes? I don't get it.
And what's the deal with airline food? And what's the deal with Jonathan Cordright?
Why do they call it World Wrestling Entertainment? It's not wrestling and it's not entertaining.
I totally forgot my promise to him to call you Jerry Sudoku on this podcast, but we're making up for it now.
Well, there you go. Jerry Sudoku made an appearance.
Yes, he did. So, speaking of people in the news in wrestling this week, Jim Cornette, Eddie Edwards, and Sami Callihan in a 3-way dance of death with Twitter.
I'll let Jason go first with this. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I guess this was taped like ages and ages ago, but it finally aired on, what is it, Impact, TNA, whatever the hell they call it now, with Sami Callihan just completely botching a spot and setting a folding chair up over Eddie Edwards' chest and just wailing Edwards in the head with the bat instead and broke whatever it was in his face. And yeah, Jim Cornette goes on and calls him, what do they call him, outlaw, and said Sami Callihan was saying, I just kind of revel in it and I'm still making money. And Jim Cornette was like, you don't look like you're making money. The way you're dressed, the way your hair's cut, and just a bad situation all around.
Well, go ahead, Will.
That spot, did you guys see the spot?
Yeah, it was hard not to. It made the rounds on the internet multiple times.
All right, so as a professional wrestler, I couldn't understand why he sat the folding chair up over his chest. Like, there's a 12-inch gap between the seat of the chair and his chest. That made no sense whatsoever. If he would have laid the bat down across, if he would have laid the chair down across his chest and then hit it, that would have made more sense. He hit the seat of the chair and then it slid down. Like, the impact, it basically bounced off the seat of the chair and hit Eddie Edwards in the face, and it actually ended up breaking his orbital socket, basically. It was a horrific spot to see, and I hate to say this. Oh, Jesus, I hate to say this. But I really do agree with Jim Cornette that it was reckless. It was very outlaw, backyardish. It made no sense with the concept. I watched the whole match. It made no sense to the concept of the match. Once again, the planning and the intent was was good, but the execution was so badly done. It made no sense psychologically. Even to the casual wrestling fan, why would you set a chair up across? You just grab a chair, just unfold it and put it on the dude's chest and then hit the chair. It made no sense to me whatsoever why he would do that. And then why couldn't they just do like Sting and just use a plastic freaking bat Like, what is the point of using a real damn bat and not being careful? Like, as a professional wrestler, we trust each other with our bodies. If you have a real bat and you're going to swing it as hard as he did, I expect you to be very careful with that. Like, if it bounces off, I expect for you not to be driving through with the baseball bat. I expect for it to be a pop and then pops back up.
All right. I want to say something about this that's on a different tangent, because we've addressed the safety, we've addressed what Jim Cornette had to say, but what I want to address is the fact that people are choosing to play this up of their own accord, regardless of what the performers involved have to say about it to each other. Because from what I understood, when this occurred at the taping, as was reported by multiple people who were there and the multiple websites who spoke to the multiple people who were there, they were immediately concerned. Everybody rushed to tend to him. Backstage, they had a talk between Callahan and Edwards. They said, "Oh shit, it was an accident. It wasn't supposed to go like that. I'm terribly sorry that this occurred." And that's fine. They made their bones about it backstage. And Edwards has even said in an interview this week on Wrestling Observer Live that he's been in that situation himself, where he was trying to do a spot with somebody, it went wrong, and they got hurt, so he knows how it feels. He's been on both sides of it. He's been on the receiving side and the giving side. So, to my way of thinking, this should be worked out by the boys, between the boys. Or, I don't want to use a genderist term, by the wrestlers, between the wrestlers. But you get what I'm trying to say. And everybody getting involved in this and taking sides and going, "That was dangerous, how dare you?" And then Sammy going, "Well, I didn't care, I'm making money, I don't give a fuck." What do you expect him to say in that situation when you're inserting yourself into somebody else's business? He's got to kayfabe it. He can't come out there and be like, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry that this happened, please forgive me." He's got to actually play up his character. You're forcing him to do that.
One more thing I want to mention that Jim Cornette had said, just to echo one of his points that he brought up, which made a lot of sense, is that, you know, the only reason people are talking about this is because it went wrong. If the spot had gone as expected, people would have forgotten about it 5 minutes after the commercial break.
That's very true, but
that's how little impact it had in the match, in the company. It was just a spot that you could give or take. It didn't need to be there.
That's very true, but Cornette is himself complicit in this, because when he goes on his tirade and makes a big deal out of it, he's drawing the very attention to a non-attention getting spot. If he says it doesn't matter, then he shouldn't be talking about it.
Though it had already gotten a lot of attention before Cornette addressed it.
I'm not saying it didn't. Like I said at the beginning of the topic, it went around the internet multiple times. You could not see it. So,
we've all seen it. We all have our opinions.
I just feel like, for whatever it's worth, Sami Callihan is not the villain. He's just playing the villain because people are making such a big deal out of it that he has no other choice but to run with it and play it up.
Sami Callihan
you know what?
Marty Scurll is the villain.
I'm going to say, Stevie, you make a great point, and I totally 100% agree with you, is that we don't know what happened after the cameras cut off. For all we know, Sami Callihan went with Eddie Edwards to the hospital and never left his side. I'm pretty sure that these guys have talked, and there's no heat between the both of them. And you're right, Stevie, with everybody attacking Sami Callihan on Twitter and stuff, he, as a wrestler, as a quote unquote heel, he has to come across as being cocky and arrogant. The next question that should be, the next thing that should be done, in my opinion, is that TNA or Impact, or fuck that owl, as Jason likes to call them, they need to turn this into a money-making storyline where these guys, it's no longer a wrestling match. We were wrestling, and this is something that I've done before with this tag team, Team IOU, who are now the Carnies, where Nick Iggy gave me a double stomp off of a bar, a legitimate bar, and it landed very high on my shoulders, almost on the back of my neck. And I cut a promo that was very shoot-like, where I was like, we're wrestlers, and the hell with these cameras, like, as wrestlers, we're supposed to protect each other. Because, this is just a work, and this is just, basically this shit's fake, and you legitimately almost hurt me. That's some bullshit. And it turned into a really good angle for us and stuff. I would like to see these guys do this, where now this is no longer about wrestling, where Eddie Edwards comes out on Twitter or on Impact, GFW, whatever. He comes out on TV. We'll just say TV. He comes out on TV and he calls Sami Callihan out and says, look, we had planned this spot and you're so reckless and you're garbage, like I almost couldn't provide for my family. I almost couldn't come to work because of you, because you're reckless. And true indeed, Sami Callihan doesn't look like your typical wrestler. So if Eddie Edwards comes out and says, look, I'm a professional wrestler. You're some backyard garbage guy who came, who came from CZW, et cetera, with death matches and shit. You're not a real wrestler. I am. And then they feud and it evolves into a fight. And if this was the 80s, it would eventually end up in like a cage match or some shit. That would be beautiful. Like, that's how you make money. The people of TNA, GFW, Impact, fuck that out. If you are listening, just like Gato, pay attention to my voice. This is a great opportunity to do something different from WWE, to do something different than what's going on in the rest of wrestling, and actually make money off of two of your better talents who actually know how to work.
I want to add,
making money and Impact don't go hand in hand.
Well,
no, but if they're going to turn this company, think about this, Jason. If they was to turn this into an angle, quote unquote angle, or a storyline, where these guys are basically doing work shoots with each other, and they're blurring the line between what is wrestling and what is real life, people will pay attention to that. That will draw money. That's always.
I agree with you. I just don't have faith in the powers that be at Impact to pull the trigger on that.
Well, I got some
kind of vision and foresight.
I got some connections at Impact now. I'm gonna send a letter. I'm gonna send an email and be like, hey, look, have you guys ever thought about doing this? Like, I know you probably have 12 weeks of taping in the can right now because you can only afford to tape once a month, but you guys should retape all of that shit. Just scratch all of that and just go with this angle right here.
All right. Well, I think we need to move on to WWE Fastlane on Sunday.
Hold on. God, speaking of Fastlane, hold on. This is something else I thought you were going to talk about, but I guess you didn't. Rich Swann, former WWE candidate, has announced his retirement after he completes his obligated bookings. I don't know if it's...
Yeah.
Go ahead, Stevie.
Well, what's interesting about that is he got into, speaking of CZW, he got into a spat with Nick Gage on social media when he said, it's funny how some promoters will refuse to book you, and yet there's a man with a criminal record who gets bookings everywhere he goes. And Nick Gage took this personally, and he was like, bro, you got a problem with me, come to me like a man and we could settle it. And Rich Swann was like, no, I don't have a problem with you, we're brothers, I'm just saying there's some hypocrisy out there among the promoters.
Well, he was right on that. I seen the tweet that you were talking about when he was like, it's a shame, and I'm paraphrasing, where like Rich Swann, was alleged to do something and was found not guilty, or the charges were dropped or whatever, and you have an actual convicted bank robber being Nick Gage, and you won't, basically he's saying you won't book me even though charges were dropped and I was found not guilty of domestic violence, but you will book somebody who's a convicted bank robber. Where is the justice in that? And as a wrestler, as a person, I can kind of agree with him. But on the flip side of that, I was always taught to never count the next man's money. And if somebody doesn't want to book you, one person saying no is just that, one person saying no. Just because, CZW or some other company doesn't want to book you doesn't mean anything. I mean, let's look at wrestling. There are all kinds of, sexual deviants and child molesters and rapists and drug addicts wrestling every day in professional wrestling. and you have some of the most law-abiding citizens in professional wrestling who can't get booked. So Richie Swann should know that wrestling is not a morally based occupation. If anything, professional wrestling is full of some of the most unscrupulous, diabolical, shady, conniving, scheming, carny people that you will ever meet in your life. So you can't really get mad that they don't want to book you, especially with the Me Too movement and all these other, and the women's empowerment movement going on, and it's being as hot as it is right now. He should kind of know that this would be a thing.
Right, and that's what I was just about to say, is the entertainment field in general, whether it's the music industry, Hollywood, professional wrestling, whatever, there are plenty of seedy characters to go around.
Oh, without a doubt. And like I said, it's nothing against him personally as a person. It's just you were in the unfortunate situation where you and your wife got to an argument, and it was put all over social media, and certain words, certain buzzwords were used, and now you have that title. Now you have that tag beside your name. It's not saying that a year from now, and let's look at the situation. Richie Swann did that. And 2 weeks later, everybody was talking about Michael Elgin. It's not saying that nobody's never going to book you again. And just because this promoter doesn't want to book you doesn't mean anything. It just means that this promoter doesn't want to do business with you right now. But it makes no sense to go up there, to get on social media, and in my opinion, throw somebody else under the bus. If you can't get booked, don't try to stop somebody else from getting booked as well.
Right. And on that note, now I think we have to move on to the unfortunate Fastlane pay-per-view this Sunday, which, much like the Elimination Chamber, is a holding pattern until WrestleMania, where no titles will change hand and nothing really matters. And I sense no argument from the peanut gallery on that point.
That's like WWE every day.
I'm about to say, did you hear me and Jason argue anything like that? It's like
not at all. Well,
this is the reason why they should only have 4 pay-per-views a year. This is the reason why. Because now you have meaningless pay-per-views that nobody really gives a shit about. You're just putting them up there so you can have more content for your network. Yeah. But nobody really gives a shit. Nobody cares.
No.
And the attendance live is starting to show that too.
Yes, exactly. Like this mixed tag challenge should have been a huge thing, and it's really not. I see it on social media. I'm like, skip by it. Whatever.
But it could have been huge if they didn't have these pay-per-views. If they were just focusing on the mixed match challenge, in the time between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, that would be great, because you're not doing anything with titles. You're doing something brand new.
Exactly.
And
but now this. Go ahead, Stevie.
If it wasn't just a show for Facebook, if it was actually a featured part of Raw or SmackDown every week, where it's like, and now we present to you the special attraction, Mixed Match Challenge, men and women teaming together, competing against each other for charity. If they put that shit on television, it could actually matter.
Exactly. If that would, in my opinion, that would, like you said, that would matter more than them having 3 or 4 meaningless pay-per-views in between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. Nobody gives a shit about Fastlane. Nobody gave a shit. The only thing they cared about, as far as the Elimination Chamber with that entire pay-per-view, was the fact that there was a women's Elimination Chamber for the first time ever. That's all anybody gave a shit about. And they could have done that on Raw and popped the ratings, in my opinion. They did not need to have an entire pay-per-view just to be in favor. But yeah, let's go with this. Let's go ahead and get this Fastlane shit over with.
At least we don't have to roadblock this year. At least we don't have to put up with that.
Yeah. Okay, Becky Lynch and Naomi versus Natalya and Carmella. Heels win to get some heat, I guess.
Just shoot me in the head.
You don't have to watch it, Jason. You can skip it.
I'm going to. Just talking about it makes my soul hurt.
Like, luckily for me, I will be doing a show. I will be at Club Opera in Atlanta Sunday night wrestling. So I could just do like I usually do for meaningless WWE pay-per-views and just watch the highlights on YouTube.
Well, then we
But
could.
let's go.
No, I was
No,
just gonna say
here's the matches.
we could, if we want to talk about highlights, let's just skip right ahead to Shinsuke Nakamura versus Rusev. That's gonna probably be the show stealer of this whole thing.
Why are they booking Nakamura against Rusev when they're trying to get Nakamura over before WrestleMania, and Rusev is probably the most over guy on the roster right now? Makes no sense.
I'm not saying it makes sense. I'm throwing sense, logic, and continuity all out the window here. I just want to see the Rusev Day phenomenon and Shinsuke Nakamura and all mix it together and just whatever they come up with and have fun.
I want to see that. I might actually watch that match later on, just because those two guys are so entertaining and the fans love both of these guys. And like you said, the whole and please explain it to me, Stevie, because I'm kind of like slow on the Rusev Day thing. Like, was that just like an offhanded comment that he made that took off?
Yeah, it was, I believe it was like some sort of holiday, and he made a comment that he was like, it's not blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's not Independence Day, it's Rusev Day. And it just sort of caught on and became a thing where every time he came out, he said it was Rusev Day, and people started chanting along and playing along with it.
Okay, see, because I've seen like at other shows and stuff where people chant Rusev Day. On like independent shows and then like, other companies and stuff, people chant Rusev Day. So I'm kind of slow on the Rusev Day phenomenon.
Well, now it's just kind of become a celebratory thing to chant. Like, whenever you're into something or having a good time, you just chant Rusev Day.
So it's just become its own thing now?
Yeah, it really has. It's just kind of morphed into its own thing. Now it's just... Rusev himself has even said it's a way of feeling good because any day can be Rusev Day.
And let me guess, WWE is doing absolutely nothing with that.
Oh no, they are actually capitalizing on it. They made a calendar with 365 days of Rusev Day.
I might actually have to get one of those.
I know, I kind of want that myself. So yeah, this will be fun. It means nothing, it changes nothing, but if there's one fun thing we can watch on this show, this match will be it.
Are there any other highlights? What's the main event?
The main event is a six-pack challenge. AJ defends the title against John Cena, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Baron Corbin, and Dolph Ziggler. And this is John Cena getting inserted into the match by virtue of him winning a non-title match on SmackDown. So we all know what's going to happen here. It's going to come down to...
retain.
Yeah, exactly. Because Styles has to win so that Cena does not have a road to WrestleMania so that he can challenge The Undertaker and this time actually mean that shit.
I'm looking at it's going to end up being a three-way between Nakamura, AJ, and John Cena.
No.
This is WWE, okay? Don't you know? No, don't. Yeah,
Now I'm like Jason over here. I'm like, can I just not watch that? I'll just not watch that. Put a bullet in my head. I don't want to watch that.
Yeah, too late now. See, you put it out there to the universe, Stevie.
You put it out there. I did not put it out there. You put it out there.
See what happens when you put negativity out in the universe? Negativity comes back.
Can I tell you guys how I would fantasy book the women's match in this?
Okay, that's Charlotte Flair versus Ruby Riott, correct?
Ruby Riott.
Yeah.
With the Riott Squad at ringside, yeah. What I would, of course, I think Charlotte Flair is going to retain in the match. Just saying that. But what you do here is you have Carmella cash in Money in the Bank and go up against Charlotte Flair. And as Carmella is, just laying it to Flair, is about to pin Flair, Asuka hits the ring, lays out Carmella, drags the lifeless body of Charlotte Flair, has her pin Carmella, and Asuka says, Charlotte Flair, I want you at WrestleMania.
Ooh. Nice fantasy booking.
You should have a job with WWE, Jason.
I applaud that. I love that idea.
I do too.
I don't give WWE enough credit to actually pull the trigger on that, but I would love to see that. That would be money.
Yes, for somebody who doesn't watch the product that much, or if at all, good job, Jason. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, but good job.
It's not going to happen, but it's a good idea. That's why it's not going to happen.
It's a great idea.
Speaking of great ideas, I want to fantasy book one real quick before we wrap the show up tonight. We've got this never-ending feud between the Usos and the New Day that just rolls on from one pay-per-view to the next. Meanwhile, over on Raw, the Bar are complaining that they've beaten everybody, they have no competition, they're putting out an open challenge for somebody to face them at WrestleMania, so here's what I want. These two teams beat the shit out of each other for 15, 20 minutes like they usually do. At the end, the Usos retain, and the New Day are left despondent, but before this can move on to the next match in the pay-per-view, the Bar make a surprise appearance and say, you guys put on a hell of a match, you guys are the champions, we want to face one of the two of you, who's it going to be? And before they can answer, they all get into a brawl, and we see the upshot of it the next night on Raw.
I think the only thing that would make that better is if the Revival came out.
That would work too. I wouldn't mind adding them to that equation.
Yes. And we can have one thing I don't like about WWE is that there are way too many titles, that every brand has like its own version of each title. I would much rather like how it used to be, where there was one champion, one tag team champion, one heavyweight champion, one secondary champion, one women's champion. And this would be a great way to unify the tag titles. In my opinion. I think if you're going to be the champion, damn it, you need to be the champion, and you just got to make every fucking town. Excuse my language, gentlemen.
Oh, that's all right. And I agree, there are too many titles in WWE right now, and it's only going to get more ridiculous from there because we're going to have a North American NXT Championship, and we're going to have Cruiserweight Tag Team titles on 205 Live. More belts!
Can I say that once again, NXT is out indie wrestling the indies?
Yeah, the fact that they're going to have a North American title, that is out indieing the indies by far. You are dead right.
Exactly. Like, they are out indie wrestling. Period. Point blank. Like, that is such an indie wrestling move. And I try to tell promoters that all the time. It's like, make your brand mean something and make your top title mean something. And then you can come out with a secondary title when it actually means something. They are out indie wrestling the indies right now, hands down. And it makes me feel so despondent, to use a big word. To use a $10 word, it makes me feel so despondent because it gives me no hope for the indie companies out there, because I feel like they're just going to start mocking what WWE is doing. Like, oh, well, they have a secondary title, we should have one too. And it's like, no, you really don't.
All right, well, don't despair. Don't be despondent. You're getting bookings all over the place. In fact, you got them coming up this weekend. You already mentioned one.
Oh, this weekend is going to be full of, like, wrestling. Friday night, I will be in Fairmont, or tomorrow night, Fairmont, Friday night, whatever you want to call it. I'll be in Fairmont, West Virginia, defending my AIWF World Heavyweight title versus one Garrett Coleman, who, in my opinion, is one of the best up-and-coming wrestlers as far as super heavyweights go. This kid's 285 pounds, super agile, super quick on his feet, a really great kid overall. So, and the joy to have. So I'm putting this kid over on our podcast. For anybody listening, look up Garrett Coleman and his tag team partner. They're a tag team called the Millennials. They're like probably the hottest young tag team in the entire state of West Virginia. But Garrett Coleman is a great young talent. I can't wait to beat the piss out of him. Then Saturday night, I will be in Carrollton, Georgia, at the VFW in Carrollton, Georgia. I will be teaming up with one Solid Cross for the UIW Tag Team Championships. We'll be facing my old tag team partner, Joe Black, and now his name is Blacklist Uno. Due to all the recent school shootings, he has changed his name from Murder One to Blacklist Uno. They are on the hierarchy. We'll be facing them Saturday night for the UIW Tag Titles. That's another chance for me to get another title around this amazing size 40 waist. And then Sunday, once again, we're returning back to Atlanta, Georgia, Club Opera. AWE presents Oh Lord. The main event will be Ala Dawn versus former WWE star, drumroll please, Emma. Her name, I guess, Camille Dashwood. former WWE star, ROH star, Tennille Dashwood versus Isla Dawn. That's going to be, I'm so glad that's the main event because I hate to say it like this, nobody else. And there's some great talent on this card. Eddie Kingston, TNA star Caleb Conley, myself, Joe Black, Chip Day. There's so many great talents on this card, but that's the main event. These ladies are main eventing the AWE show. So come check us out, Club Opera. Come check us out in Carrollton, Georgia, and come check me out in Fairmont, West Virginia.
Excellent. That is a fantastic weekend ahead to come see William Huckabee wrestle with the best because he is the best. And Jason, what do you have to plug?
This is the month, this is the week actually, where you will want to drop your 999 yen to purchase a subscription to New Japan World. Not only is it the best 999 yen you can spend, not only does the New Japan Cup start tomorrow, but this weekend we get to set the clocks forward, which means we won't have to get up quite as stupid a clock. Shows that we're normally at 4:30 will now be at 5:30. Shows that we're 3 will be at 4 in the morning. So Japan, they don't set their clocks forward or backwards, but setting the clocks forward here means I get to wake up later if I do want to watch New Japan live. So definitely check out NJPW World. Check me out on Twitter. I'm at Great Sudoku. And check out AngryMarks.com.
And check out William Huckabee at WA Huckabee. Check me out at AngryMarks.com. And almost every Tuesday, you can check out the Wrestling Nerdcast with his co-host Mick Villas and producer C.W. Smith. Always a fine show when they have the chance to do it. So we hope there's a new one next Tuesday, and we hope you join us again next Thursday for Thursday Night AMP. Good night, everyone.